Welcome to today's edition of the Statler Financial Radio Show. Your financial security is our business. Have a question for the team? Call today, 863-877-1188. That's 863-877-1188.
Welcome to the Statler Financial Radio Show. I'm Stephanie Griffin, and I am here with Philip Statler, who is founder and president of Statler Financial Services. Thank you so much for tuning into the show today. As military action continues in the Middle East, predictions about the economy are flooding the headlines. Oil prices have crossed $100 a barrel, and some analysts believe we could be headed toward a recession. Philip is here now with Statler Financial Services to help us make sense of this news. How are you, Philip? Good to see you.
Hey, I'm doing well today. I wish that oil would come back down, but at this point, it seems to just have its own idea and its own trajectory.
Yeah, you don't want to know how much it cost to fill my gas tank up. It was ridiculous. Oh my gosh. Well, don't forget you could get a hold of Philip at 863-877-1188. It's a free, no obligation appointment if you want to set up an appointment with him. 863-877-1188. Let's get into this. How concerned should people be about a recession, Philip?
Well, I don't know how concerned people should be. I mean, obviously it's out there, right? More and more people are talking about the possibility. A matter of fact, the odds have probably reached the highest we've seen in a long, long time. The prediction, if you look at the markets and those guys that like to wager on whether or not we're going to have a recession or not, we're at 37% chance that we could go into a recession. So, when we look at that and we look at energy prices surging, well, that's not just affecting energy, right? It ripples through the whole economy. And, but I will say this, the U.S. has become so much more resilient to oil shocks like we're seeing right now than it used to be.
Right.
I mean, I remember, right? I mean, I may have been a little kid, but I remember the 70s, right? When it was a big deal. So here's the key. Do not panic, but you do need to be prepared. And so many people I sit down with, they really haven't prepared. And that's probably the biggest issue that causes the panic that we see right now.
Right.
You need to be disciplined, and you still have to have that long-term mindset because the markets are not short-term vehicles. They are long-term vehicles. And sometimes, Stephanie, I get talking to folks that are retired or getting ready to retire and say, well, we don't have long-term. You do. Most retirees are going to be retired and sitting in that rocking chair or traveling, doing the things they want to do for 10, 20, sometimes 30 years. And that's long-term.
Right.
Whether you're the 10-year or the 30-year. And so we need to have that mindset looking ahead, Stephanie.
And you mentioned the 70s a second ago, Philip, and some of our listeners probably remember the oil shocks of the 1970s and the stagflation that came with it. Can you explain stagflation? And also, do you think we'll see it again?
Well, yeah, I do remember 70s. I remember the gas lines. All that stuff starts to come back now when you talk about that. And so stagflation, what is it? Well, it's a combination of three different challenges that are out there. And I'm going to say we probably have two of the three right now. High inflation. You say, well, yeah, high inflation. We have that. I mean, based on the producer price index we saw this last month, we definitely, inflation is not going down. It's going up. A stagnant economic growth. And the indication is, as oil prices go up, our GDP, that's our growth rate, is going to dwindle. And the last reading was pretty low to begin with. And so as we see oil prices continue to rise, there's a good chance that that GDP number is going to continue to fall. The third thing they look at is high unemployment. And right now, I will say that's the one thing we really don't have, at least looking at the numbers.
Right.
The unemployment rate has maintained kind of a status quo, somewhere around 4.3, 4.4%, which is relative by definition, full employment. So we don't see high employment right now, which is good, high unemployment. Um, but for retirees living on fixed income, this whole stagflation, it's a real threat, and so it's obviously something we need to be concerned about. It's impossible to know for sure if we'll experience stagflation.
Now,
But there are warning signs that are out there, Stephanie, that we need to be paying attention to. And I think that for all intents and purposes, we need to hope and pray for the best. And in that process, we need to be prepared for the absolute worst thing that could happen.
right. Hope for the best, prepare for the worst for sure. Well, according to reports, I guess baby boomers are already feeling the pressure, Philip. Some are even stopping their 401k contributions and pulling that money out early. Now, I think I know the answer to this, but is that a mistake?
I think it could be a huge mistake. I mean, we've seen the ups and downs in the market. I mean, really, I was looking at some numbers before you and I got on the radio this morning, and the market, we're not even in correction mode right yet. Could we? We could. But I was looking at the S&P 500 year to date through, just to give you a date, through March 20th, which was as we're recording this, as was a week ago Friday. And so the market is down a little less. The S&P is down a little less than 5% at that point in time.
Right.
Now, January 28th was the high of the S&P 500, where it topped out at $7,002 and some change. So from there, the high point to last Friday, we're down 7.1%. So we haven't even hit a correction mode yet. Now, obviously, it looks like we could be heading that way, but I think there's still, we don't want to panic. We don't want to make a mistake and quit contributing. So many people, those baby boomers, have found themselves sometimes, especially those younger ones, in a sandwich generation, right? They're still paying for kids' college. They're still caring for aging parents. They're trying to plan for retirement. They need everything they can
Yeah. That's a
for
lot.
retirement. So they don't stop, keep going, right? And so we don't want to pull money out of a depressed market. It locks in losses permanently. Let me just put a caveat here real quick, because I get some of my clients they listen every week and they say, Philip, you say never sell, you're going to lose your money. I said, sometimes you do have to kick out a stock. What I mean is you don't want to sell everything and go to cash, right? Then you've locked in losses. If you're readjusting a portfolio to keep up with the current circumstances, well, that's just good planning. And then a solid financial plan obviously helps you avoid some of those desperate moves, Stephanie.
So I have to mention, I am the sandwich generation. We're currently paying for kids' college, and I am caring for my dad. So I'm actually Gen X. So that could be Gen X or baby boomers, I guess, right now, couldn't it?
It could. Yeah, most of us baby boomers, I mean, unless you started late in life with kids, it should be at the point where you're just taking care of your parents, which
Right.
I'm in that boat right now, helping them. So,
Right. Well,
um,
go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, so that's a big deal. We want to keep, it does. It takes a lot of time and effort.
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
It does. A lot of expenses. Statler Financial Radio Show. That's what you're listening to right now. If you just tuned in, definitely give Philip a call, 863-877-1188, if you have any financial questions. And one of the first steps to preserving our money right now, what would that be, Philip?
I'm going to say liquidity.
Okay.
You need to keep some money set aside in cash or a high yield savings account, that type of thing. I tell my clients, just for pure liquidity issues, right? Emergencies, you should have $25 to $50,000 in savings that you can get your hands on if you needed to. More than 50,000 starts to be like, okay, that's more than you need for an emergency. And market dips, well, you could call that an emergency, right? Because you don't want to liquidate out of your portfolio when the market's down. If you've got cash savings, you can take it out of there to pay your bills. So, like I said, it keeps you from selling your investments at a discounted price at that point. So just things to keep in mind as you look at where you are right now.
So, if you're just joining us, we are talking to Philip Statler of Statler Financial Group. And if you'd like to give him a call, 863-877-1188. Let's talk about ways to help recession-proof your retirement. So, Philip, what about those who are still working and are looking to retire in the next few years?
Well, I think that's good. If you're still working, look, you got a huge advantage when the market's heading down, right? Putting more in, don't stop, max out, right? Max out your 401k, max out your IRA if you can. If you're over 50 years old, use the catch up contributions. You can still put like $31,000 into your 401k. Let's get those things done. Your money will keep growing through your retirement, not just until you retire. Think about that. I mean, that's a big deal.
Right. People naturally want to stop investing. Is that ever a good idea?
In my opinion, that would not be a good idea. I'd rather see you automate your retirement contributions. Don't touch them. Just keep them going. When the markets are down, people freeze up, and they shouldn't. But a down market actually means you're buying stocks that are on sale. And so automating your investments takes the emotion out of it. You buy consistently, even when news looks bleak like we're seeing right now.
What is one final piece of advice for somebody trying to feel more confident about their financial future?
Say, look closely at your budget, cut anything that's non-essential. I know I do it once a year. I'll look at my credit card and say, what subscriptions are hitting my credit card that I don't use anymore?
Right.
What ACHs do I have coming out of my account that I don't utilize anymore? Go cancel those things. We're bad about not canceling something that we're not using. Take the time to do that, because that's every little bit will add to your retirement savings going down the road. So those small adjustments can help reduce the income that you're going to need later as we head into retirement. We've said it before on the show, but it really is impossible to predict exactly what the markets will do next. It might bounce back quickly, but what if a recession drags on for months or even years? If you have at least $500,000 or more saved for retirement, you have too much at stake to just guess. The time to plan is not after a major financial crisis. The time is now. If you're listening to this and you feel concerned, I want you to give my team a call at Statler Financial. The number to call is 863-877-1188. Schedule your comprehensive retirement stress test. We'll help you analyze your portfolio for your diversification to help ensure that you're not overexposed to the market risk. Review your liquidity so you know your income is stable regardless of what the market does next week. Provide a second opinion on your current strategies to help give you that total confidence. Folks, there's no cost, no obligation. You work too hard for your wealth to let uncertainty keep you awake at night. You deserve the confidence that you'll be able to enjoy your retirement no matter what. Give us a call right now at 863-877-1188. That's 863-877-1188.
All right, give Philip a call and let him and his team help you feel more prepared for whatever the economy may bring. The Statler Financial Radio Show will be right back. Turn your plans of yesterday into yes today. Don't wait another day for a routine checkup of your retirement plans. Call Statler Financial Services, 863-285-3815. That's 863-285-3815.
Surprise parties can be fun.
Surprise!
Financial surprises, not so much, especially when you're retired, like finding out you owe more in taxes than you thought you would, or having to go back to work to make ends meet. Maybe you'll be okay, but why not double check just to be sure? Call Philip Statler at Statler Financial Services and schedule a no-cost retirement double check at 863-877-1188. Philip and his team have seen their fair share of surprises over the years and know how to help you avoid them. Call 863-877-1188 to schedule your no-cost retirement double check with Philip Statler at Statler Financial Services. Don't let a financial surprise derail your retirement dreams. Call 863-877-1188 now. That's 863-877-1188. You can also visit StatlerFinancial.com for more info. Advisory services are offered through Second Half Financial Partners, LLC, an SEC registered investment advisor. Time to retire right. This is the Statler Financial Radio Show.
Welcome back to the Statler Financial Radio Show with Philip Statler. He is the president and founder of Statler Financial Services. We are so glad you're listening today. Some people spend decades diligently saving for retirement, watching their 401ks and IRAs grow. But here's an important question a lot of people fail to ask. How much of that money will I actually get to keep after taxes? Philip, so why are tax strategies crucial yet often overlooked in retirement preparation?
Well, one of the things is that we're focused on retirement, right? We're focused on having fun and making that next step in our life, and we don't think about taxes. They just have focused on building up the nest egg, and a lot of folks out there have done a great job at that. And so in that process of accumulation, they overlook what the distribution strategies need to be on those portfolios. Now, let's face it, traditional retirement accounts, they can create this thing we call a tax trap, where withdrawals are taxed as ordinary income. I see this quite often. Folks get ready to retire, they haven't quite paid off their house yet, or they have a few, car loans still they want to get paid off. So what do? They say, I'm going to take an extra $75,000 out right now to pay off my house or my car, whatever it is. And then all of a sudden they do their tax return and find out, oh my gosh, I owe a fortune in taxes. And so that's where tax planning comes into the process. We don't want anybody to get blindsided by taxes. The other thing we see is higher withdrawals to cover those taxes can then push you into higher tax brackets and just exasperating the whole situation. So with growing national debt, tax rates could increase in the future. Now, we did get some relief, right? We thought they were going to go up at the end of 2025, but we got some relief with the big, beautiful bill. It extended those tax cuts for a while. And so that's great news. But let's don't waste that opportunity, right? So, because we don't know, they're going to have to go up eventually because of the national debt continuing to go. Being tax diversified is important. We need to have some money in Roth where we're tax free, some money in tax deferred. It all works together if you plan properly.
And can you go into maybe a little more detail about tax diversification? Why is that so valuable for retirees?
Well, because think about it. Back before Roth IRAs, everybody put in all their money in 401ks or in IRAs. So when they got ready to retire, nothing had any taxes paid on it. So when they got ready to retire, the only place they really had to take money, because that's where they forced all their savings, is they didn't have any place to take money from that wasn't going to be taxable. And that tax on that account then made more of their Social Security taxable. And it was a rolling stone that just kept going and going. Now we've got this thing called a Roth IRA. And even within folks' 401k, a lot of times they'll have a Roth bucket that they can use. And I encourage you, if you're in the 22% bracket or less, I would definitely be putting my money in the Roth part of the 401k. Yeah, granted, it's not going to save you anything in taxes. The taxes can be so much higher down the road. That's the tax deferral, right? Is diversification is how much do I have in Roth? How much do I have in tax deferred? And then how much do I have in non-qualified? That means I'm going to pay the tax as I go. I'm going to pay the tax on the capital gains, the dividends, all those things as they occur. You need all three of those things to put together a good plan.
I'll tell you something I honestly did not know, Philip, that Social Security benefits, they might be taxable, and also Medicare premiums could increase based on people's income, and a lot of other people are surprised by that as well. How can strategic withdrawals help minimize these additional costs?
Well, I'll be honest. Sometimes it's not avoidable. I've seen it where it's not avoidable, right? I remember the very first time I dealt with this issue called IRMA. That's where your Medicare premiums go up. And a tax client of mine had sold a huge piece of property and had like a $800,000 profit on this piece of property. And, all of a sudden her Social Security check went down by like $600. And she's like, what happened?
It's a big jump.
And yeah. And we had to go dig in and say, look, your income was well over the IRMA amount. So for the next year, guess what? You get to pay higher premiums on your Medicare Part B premium. So it caught her by surprise, as it catches a lot of people by surprise. Thankfully, though, Stephanie, what we are seeing now is that more people are cognizant of the issue. And so they're asking some questions, and more professionals are asking the right questions to make sure that we're doing the right planning for folks. And that's a good thing. And that's, again, part of our core retirement design is to do that tax planning, to have that plan in place. If I'm going to sell something big, what's it going to affect? And just know we may have to deal with that down the road. Would love to sit down with you. Again, it's 30 minutes. Ask your questions. I'll be happy to answer them. 863-877-1188. That's 863-877-1188.
You are listening to the Statler Financial Radio Show. I'm Stephanie Griffin, and I am sitting with Philip Statler of Statler Financial Services, and he is the founder and president of Statler Financial. You can give him a call. Let me mention that number again. You can even text VISIT to this number and get your free consultation, 863-877-1188. That again is 863-877-1188. Philip, what is the first step someone could take if they want to explore creating a more tax-efficient retirement plan?
Well, I think the first thing is you have to know where you are right now, right? So it's like the other day, I met with some folks that have a rather large IRA. And so now what do we do? What's the plan? Because if we wait until RMD time, the RMDs are going to be huge. That's the required minimum distribution. That's the amount the IRS says you have to take out every year. And if they wait, that number is going to be huge, and it's going to make basically 85% of their Social Security taxable. It's going to create a huge bill.
Right.
So we have an opportunity now, while they're still in a relatively low tax bracket, to do what we take advantage of those tax brackets. Let's max out that 12% tax bracket, or let's max out the 22% tax bracket. If we think they're going to be in a 22% tax bracket down the road, let's max out the 22% tax bracket, because the likelihood 10 years from now is that they'll be, if they have to take RMDs, they're going to be in a higher tax bracket than 22%. So that's going to be the key, is, looking at those circumstances and putting together a plan on how we're going to take advantage of our IRA. How are we going to convert to Roth? How are we going to take advantage of the tax brackets? And just, that's what we do. That's what we plan for in our core retirement design.
Now, we've been talking about the retirement tax strategies that people should be doing. How often should people review those strategies? Because the tax code, it seems like it's constantly changing.
Yes, we did, because early in 2025, we were preaching the end is coming. The end is coming, right? The tax brackets are going to go up back to what they were prior to the Trump tax law change. And so we were all looking at Roth conversions and what can we do, because people are going to pay a lot more taxes in 2026. And what happened? They came in, they passed a bill that extended those tax cuts and added us some more benefits for the next 4 or 5 years. So you never know, because it could be the exact opposite, right? They can be, hey, look, we got to pay down debt. Let's jack tax rates up.
Right.
So we got 5 more years that we can take advantage of converting these IRAs to Roths, which to me, we need to look at. Everybody needs to take the opportunity to look at that. And we need to look at that on a regular basis. I mean, for my clients that we're doing Roth conversions, it's an annual event that we look at and say, okay, what's happened this year? Did you sell anything big? Can we still make the Roth conversion work? Maybe we can't do 40,000. Maybe we can only do 15,000 this year. But what is that number? What can we do to take advantage of this whole tax bracket? Let's max it out and take advantage of it. So again, when we look at that, that's the thing. You're right. The tax code changes all the time. And we've got to play the game with the rules we have at the time. And right now, we got some extensions that we need to work on and take advantage of these extended lower tax brackets. And again, let me just remind you, our core retirement design looks at 3 key areas of retirement. It looks at the risk in your portfolio that mitigates some of the ups and downs you may see. It's a tax plan where we look at how can we pay the least amount of taxes possible for not just you, your spouse, but also your beneficiaries. Think about this for a minute real quick. If something happens and one of the spouses dies, now our tax brackets automatically go up because now we have to file single.
God, how scary that would be when that surprises you and you're still mooring.
It does.
Yeah.
It does. And then the third leg of that core retirement design is designing that income plan that's going to give you the income you need in retirement. Give us a call at 863-877-1188. That's 863-877-1188 to schedule your core retirement analysis.
All right, Philip, sounds good to me. And we would love you to call him once again, 863-877-1188. Sit down and talk to Philip Statler about your retirement and any questions you may have. He'd be happy to answer them for you. When we return, we'll explore specific tax-efficient strategies that can help you keep more of your hard-earned retirement savings, including Roth conversion opportunities and ways to help prepare for your future tax changes. Stay tuned. We've got more of the Statler Financial Radio Show on the way.
Needing a second opinion on your retirement plan or to see if you're paying more than your fair share to Uncle Sam? Schedule your complimentary visit today. Text VISIT to 863-877-1188. That's VISIT to 863-877-1188.
Surprise parties can be fun.
Surprise!
Financial surprises, not so much, especially when you're retired, like finding out you owe more in taxes than you thought you would, or having to go back to work to make ends meet. Maybe you'll be okay, but why not double check just to be sure? Call Philip Statler at Statler Financial Services and schedule a no-cost retirement double check at 863-877-1188. Philip and his team have seen their fair share of surprises over the years and know how to help you avoid them. Call 863-877-1188 to schedule your no-cost retirement double check with Philip Statler at Statler Financial Services. Don't let a financial surprise derail your retirement dreams. Call 863-877-1188 now. That's 863-877-1188. You can also visit StatlerFinancial.com for more info. Advisory services are offered through Second Half Financial Partners, LLC, an SEC registered investment advisor.
Welcome back to the Statler Financial Radio Show with founder and president of Statler Financial Services, Philip Statler. Thank you so much for listening to us today. The prospect of retirement brings excitement and concern for many Americans. Building your nest egg is very important, but those taxes on withdrawals can really impact how long your money lasts. So what specific actions can listeners take today to create a more tax-efficient retirement strategy, Philip?
Well, I think that the strategies are out there. It's just making them work for you. And here's probably the key. You have to be willing to pay some tax up front to save more taxes in the back. And that can be hard for people to grasp, right?
Right.
So the first step is evaluating your current mix of accounts. across the different tax treatments that are out there. What do we have in Roth? What do we have in traditional? What do we have that's neither one, non-qualified, not retirement accounts? We need all three to put things together so that you have the best opportunity. So once we look at that, then we want to consider strategic Roth conversions during years when you might be in a lower tax bracket. And that's singling out different years. It's not a one and done deal. So for some reason, people think that. I have some clients, we do $10,000 a year, convert from traditional to Roth. Other clients, we do $25,000 or $40,000 a year. So everybody's different, and that's why you have to go through the planning process. You need to plan for required minimum distributions before they become mandatory. I did a review with a client this year, and she turns 73 next year, meaning she has to start taking money out for her required minimum distributions. And she had done a little homework. She said, Philip, since the tax rates are low, maybe we should do some Roth conversions this year before I have to start taking my required minimum distribution next year.
Oh, wow.
I said, absolutely. Let's look at that.
Yeah.
We scheduled another appointment. I'm putting together the numbers now to see, how much can she put into a Roth and still stay in that 12 to 22% tax bracket because, well, she lives in one of those high states too. So she's going to pay some high state income tax. So we really want to look to see how that's going to affect her. But again, it's the planning process. It's being cognizant of the fact that everything's sitting in her traditional IRA, and she knows the amount of money she's going to have to pull out and pay taxes on is huge. Now, the other thing people don't want to talk about, or they do, but they don't understand how to do it yet, or a lot of advisors don't deal with it. There's a lot of strategies for folks out there that are charitably minded, especially once you pass that 70.5 marker. Things called QCDs, qualified charitable distributions, that you can use your IRA to fund your charitable endeavors. It's a huge thing. They can save you big amounts in taxes. Some people just don't want to deal with it, though. I don't get it, but everybody's different, right?
That's why you're here. You can help him out, right? Help him out. Definitely give Philip a call. 863-877-1188 is the number. And Philip, it seems like tax laws are always changing. We mentioned that earlier. How can retirees create a tax strategy that helps provide flexibility as their situation and tax laws evolve over time?
Well, Stephanie, that's good. That's a good question because here's the deal is that a lot of people don't, right? They do something and don't think about it and it's done and it can't be undone. And so what I encourage my clients to do is look, before you do something that may cause some tax issues, call us. Let's call us and let's make sure that what you're doing makes the most sense. And make sure there's not another way to skin that cat. For instance, I'll have clients that will call me and say, Philip, it's time for me to buy my new car, right? I need $50,000 because cars ain't cheap this time of year,
that's
right?
For sure.
So I need to buy a new car. Take the money out of my IRA and send it to me. I said, whoa. Let's look and see at where all your pots of money are, and let's make sure that that's the right choice. We have an IRA over here, we have a Roth IRA there, and we have a non-qualified account. Well, if you take $50,000 out of the traditional IRA, then we know your tax bill is going to be significant. What if we kind of took some from everywhere? We take $15,000 from the traditional. We take $15,000 from the Roth. We take $10,000 from the non-qualified. Now we still got the $50,000. But you've saved a lot of money in taxes by doing it that way.
Very smart.
So that's the key is I tell people, look, don't just say, send me $50,000. Tell me what you're going to do, what you're trying to accomplish, and let's plan out how we're going to do it. The other way that comes up, Stephanie, is that people want to pay off something. They just retired. They want to pay off the car still. Mm-hmm. Well, let's don't do it all in 1 year. Let's do it in 2 years. Let's take it this year and let's pay some off this year. And let's get into the next tax year and take some more money out and pay the rest of it off.
Great
now
idea.
we've straddled 2 tax years. So it's just making sure that we plan the process. And so many people are focused on the end result and they don't care how you get there. Well, how you get there can be half the battle, right?
That's exactly right.
That's the big tax consequences there. And so I think that's where we really help a lot of folks, is making sure that we do the best we can to be tax efficient. Now, truth, you can't always be tax efficient, right? Sometimes you don't have a choice. But man, whenever you can be tax efficient, let's don't lose that opportunity. Let's make sure that you're doing everything you can to save yourself the most you can in taxes.
The first step is to give Philip a call for sure. We want you to reach your financial goals. Give Philip Statler a call right now at 863-877-1188. That number again is 863-877-1188. You're listening to the Statler Financial Radio Show. And Philip, how do you help people develop tax-efficient withdrawal strategies? So everybody is different. How do you tailor it to a specific situation?
Well, that's where we look at our income planning, right? Is putting together the income plan. That's the deal right there, is where is money going to come from? And what happens occasionally will be we've got a plan in place and something happens, right? There's always something, especially in Florida. A hurricane comes through. Well, Philip, I need an extra $25,000 to fix something. Okay. Well, that wasn't in our plan. Let's figure out the best way to handle that. And so we look at a couple different scenarios and come up with the best alternatives we can. And that's the key. So often I talk with people and they say, I asked my financial advisor, I need some money out of my IRA. He didn't ask a question. He didn't make any suggestion. He just sent me the money. And now I owe this huge amount in taxes. And so I think that's the key, is making sure that people are really looking at and being conscious of the tax implications. They just say, gross it up. Gross it up. I need $20,000. Gross it up to $25,000. That'll take care of the taxes. Well, maybe there's another way. Maybe there's a better way. It's just understanding the process and understanding the tax consequences and how the taxes work to put together maybe a better plan that accomplishes the same thing in the process. And so I think that's the key. And again, Stephanie, when I work with somebody, we work through our core retirement design. And remember, that's 3 specific categories. We look at how much risk do you have in your portfolio, and does it really match up with the amount of risk you want in your portfolio? Somebody will say, well, I'm moderate. Well, what does moderate mean? Can you handle a 20% decline in your portfolio and be okay? So those are the things you have to look at.
Yeah, everybody's different.
Everybody's different. Yes. Step 2, looking at the tax consequences of where you are. How can we minimize that tax, not just for you, but for your beneficiaries, right? Because they're going to be in a much higher tax bracket than you are usually. And so we need to look at those rules and make sure that we're doing what's best for our entire family. And then lastly is obviously the income planning. We've got to have an income plan. We've got to have a map to follow, a plan to get us to where we need to be. And that's what the income plan does. It gives us a track to run off of. Folks, look, it's that simple. Give us a call. We'd love to help you work through it. 863-877-1188. That's 863-877-1188.
And we aren't finished yet. More of the Statler Financial Radio Show is coming up.
Surprise parties can be fun.
Surprise!
Financial surprises? Not so much. Especially when you're retired, like finding out you owe more in taxes than you thought you would, or having to go back to work to make ends meet. Maybe you'll be okay, but why not double check just to be sure? Call Philip Statler at Statler Financial Services and schedule a no-cost retirement double check at 863-877-1188. Philip and his team have seen their fair share of surprises over the years and know how to help you avoid them. Call 863-877-1188 to schedule your no-cost retirement double check with Philip Statler at Statler Financial Services. Don't let a financial surprise derail your retirement dreams. Call 863-877-1188 now. That's 863-877-1188. You can also visit statlerfinancial.com for more info. Advisory services are offered through Second Half Financial Partners, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor.
Welcome back to the Statler Financial Radio Show. If you've heard anything on the show today, or if you have any questions, call Philip and his team at 863-877-1188. That's 863-877-1188. Or you can even go to his website and see what Statler Financial is all about. It's statlerfinancial.com. Planning for retirement can feel like a big deal, right? But who better to learn from than people who've actually done it? So today, Philip Statler is here to share 5 super simple retirement planning tips from real retirees. These are straight from people who've been there. Philip, what is tip number 5? Right out of the gate here.
So tip number 5 is really, it's simple for me to say it. It can be hard to do. And I get that. I understand. But tip number 5 is live below your means. So spend less now so you can save more for later. It will balance out. You know, it is kind of about balancing, not sacrifice. Right. But if you can start now, living below your means, it's huge. It puts you so far ahead of everybody else. And let's face it, when you get to retirement, you're going to be living below what you were making when you were working. So you need to get in the practice of doing that. And I know it's easier said than done a lot of times, but that's one of the things that we need to work on.
That's a tough one, but very smart idea. How about tip number 4, Philip?
Well, tip number 4 is structure your savings. So what I mean, so save regularly, even if it's just small amounts. You know, like I said, it's put a little here, put a little there. Ultimately, it will start to grow. And what I have found is as it starts to grow, it starts to kind of snowball. And then you get excited about, oh, let's put a little bit more in there. Oh, let's put a little bit more in there. As you see that number grow and get bigger and bigger, you get excited. And it's like, I don't want to take anything out of there. I'm going to leave it there. I don't want to take anything out of there. So, you know, use the tools you have. If you have a 401k at work, max it out. Get everything the employer is going to give you. If he's matching the first 3%, don't put less than 3% in it. If he's going to match 5%, put every bit that he's going to match into it so you can get the maximum benefit out of it, because that's going to help grow your retirement accounts. And that's the key. I mean, we've got to grow our money. And so we want to make sure that we're making regular commitments to save. And I think today it's easier than when I was growing up, because you can do so much automated stuff now. You can set bank accounts so automatically, you know, so much money comes out of your checking account into your savings account every week or every time you get a paycheck. So I think that one is easier now than what it's ever been. You just have to set it up and do it.
It's nice. You know, we do that. My husband and I, we actually have a bank across town that we put his some of his check into, and it's across town, so it's not easy to get to. So that's one good way that a person could save. Just a little advice for me. All right, we're running through retirement planning tips from real retirees. It's the Statler Financial Radio Show. 863-877-1188. 863-877-1188. Now, Philip, what is tip number 3?
So, folks out there are going to say, well, Phil, this really isn't a financial tip. It really is a financial tip in the long run. And tip number 3 is invest in your health. Stay active, eat well, get regular checkups, because here's the deal. Good health makes retirement so much better. And I got to tell you, I know there's a lot of folks out there that they don't like to get up off the couch. They don't like to exercise. They like to eat what they want to eat, and I'm no different than you. Those things are, I like to splurge every now and then and eat a lot of sweets, or, it's a holiday time sometimes and I'll go overboard, but you got to bring yourself back, because, man, if you are not healthy, it gets expensive. The amount of medical bills, they start to add up, and the time away from being able to do what you want to do is significant. So do what you can to stay healthy. Be active, because here's the deal. Activity, being active, staying active, always moving, folks, that you just don't realize how many years that will add, not just to your life, but how that will keep you out of that assisted living or out of that nursing home down the road, because you've kept those muscles and you've kept those things moving in the right direction. It just makes life so much better, not just retirement, but life in general so much better. So invest in your health. It will pay you back immensely.
And it makes healing quicker, too, when you get
Absolutely.
sick. So very, very good tips. Let's do number 2 now, Philip. So we're talking about retirement planning tips from real retirees. What is number 2?
Tip number 2 is don't rush into retirement. So you say, well, and when I'm ready to retire, I'm ready to retire. I get it. But extra time at work, folks, it lets you save more money and plan better, right? So I would rather see you work a couple extra years and know that, hey, I'm set. I've got more than I think I'm going to need in retirement. I've added 2 more years to my Social Security benefit. I mean, there is all kinds of pluses to working a couple more years. And especially, I know this is hard, but especially if you want to retire at 62, I encourage you, I implore you really to run the numbers. Wait at least 3 more years. Wait until you qualify for Medicare. You don't realize what health insurance costs you from 62 to 65. It's the number one reason folks do not retire early. Don't overlook it. Don't rush into retirement. It's going to be there when you're ready. And it definitely works out better in the long run.
Some great tips. All right, you were listening to the Statler Financial Radio Show. You can call Philip and his team at 863-877-1188. That's 863-877-1188 to talk to Philip. And the number 1, let's do number 1 right now for retirement planning tips from real retirees.
So tip number 1 is what you would expect it to be. Start early. Start saving early, even if it's only a small amount, because those small amounts grow over time. Compound interest is your best friend. Starting when you're a teenager or in your 20s, always putting money away and never stealing from yourself will put you way ahead of so many people out there. You would be surprised.
Philip, what about people who have already retired? Maybe they worried they've gotten off course. When is it too late to course correct?
Well, Stephanie, I don't think it's ever, well, I can't say ever. Ever is like never, right? That you just don't ever use those words because there are times that things come up that you cannot course correct. But generally, there are ways to correct the course you're going. Maybe it's changing the investment portfolio. Maybe you have to reduce the amount of money you're taking out for a little while to let things recuperate. But I think if you're already retired, it makes a lot of sense to sit down with us to make sure that the plan you have in place is the right plan for you, and to take a look at where you are right now and see if and make sure that the money you have is going to last the rest of your life. It just makes sense. And again, it's a phone call. It's convenient. It's easy for you to give us a call and let's have a conversation of where you are right now and what are your biggest concerns? What keeps you up at night? What things are really and truly weighing on you and your current retirement? Give us a call at 863-877-1188. That's 863-877-1188. We'd love to talk to you. We'd love to help you. You know, like I said, it's one of my main goals is to help folks have the best retirement they could ever dream of here in Central Florida. And to do that, it means we have to sit down and talk to people. And so we'd love for you to be one of those folks to give us a call and let's start that process. And let's put a plan in place for you to make sure that you are going to have the retirement you always dreamed of. That number one more time, 863-877-1188.
We have less than a minute, but can you tell us a little bit more about your core retirement design that you offer?
Absolutely, Stephanie. Our core retirement design looks at three key aspects of planning. One is risk analysis. What is your portfolio's risk score? And how does that relate to your risk score? And making sure that they're not too far apart. And it's not unusual that they will be. You know, people that are in retirement, their risk score usually is somewhere in the high 40s, low 50s. And it's not unusual for them to have a portfolio in the 70s. And that doesn't sound like a big difference, but when it comes to risk, that's a big difference. We look at taxes and putting together a tax plan that helps them reduce their overall taxes throughout their lifetime and their beneficiary's lifetime. And then lastly, we make sure we put together an income plan that says, here's how much I can take out of my plan and it will still last me the rest of my life. And that's key, is having that plan and coming back and looking at it on an annual basis to make sure we're still on track. It's that simple, folks. I'd love to help you get started. Give us a call at 863-877-1188. 863-877-1188.
It's been a pleasure, Philip. Thank you.
I've enjoyed it, and I look forward to speaking to everybody next week.
All right, we'll be back next week for more of the Statler Financial Radio Show. Have a good weekend.
Advisory services offered through Second Half Financial Partners, LLC, a SEC-registered investment advisor. The opinions voiced and information provided in this material are for general informational purposes only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. To determine what investments are appropriate for you, please consult with a financial advisor. Second Half Financial Partners, LLC does not provide tax or legal advice. Please consult your tax or legal advisor regarding your particular situation. This radio show is a paid placement.